Hey darlings, I hope the week has been going so far so good. Today is Theme Thursday, so substitute what I'm going to need you to do is to pause this video and go over on our website to classroom links, which would be right here. Once you click on it, I need you to find a thing called Theme Thursday and play that YouTube video for the students. Once they have watched that YouTube video as an entire class, they need to do a Theme Thursday paragraph. And the three things that you should be identifying, kiddos, is the theme, evidence, and connection. So please go ahead and pause this video and do so. Okay, hopefully everybody has written their paragraphs. What I would like is for the table clerks to go ahead and lead the sharing at each table. Substitute, go ahead and give everybody about 3 to 4 minutes so they can share their themes and their connections. Okay, Theme Thursday is now over. It is time for your mini lesson for today, so go ahead and get out your mini lesson paper. Today we're going to be talking about quotations, underlining, and italics. First off, this is important because a lot of people don't know the difference on when to use them. What do I do with quotation marks? Well, you can quote me on that. A quote is the exact wording of a statement from a source. Quotes make an essay more believable. They are evidence that can support your thesis. Opinions supported by quoted text are evidence of good reading and thoughtful responses, and there are several types of quotes. You can have direct quotes where they are printed word for word exactly as the author wrote them. And those direct quotes, when you have them, you have to make sure that you have the attribution. So whoever said it, you need to state that. Or wherever you took that, you need to state where you took that information. Examples of direct quotes. I am thrilled to be representing the great state of Texas at the Free Spirit Conference. Joe Mama, you like that? Joe Mama, newspaper advisor, said, I owe it all to my talented students. So the attribution would be Joe Mama because it is telling who said it. And you put quotation marks around the statement itself. Indirect quotes, that's information from a source which is not made up of the author's exact words, is not placed inside quotation marks. This is an indirect quote, which is a paraphrase or a summary of the meaning of the direct quotation. So indirect quotes are used to express a fact stated by the source, clarify a quote that is too long, confusing, or dull, or condense the ideas of several direct quotes. Use indirect quotes all the time, especially in research, because you don't want to have word for word writing, but you want to summarize it or paraphrase. Never change the meaning of a quote when you paraphrase, and you will still need to cite your source. Those in-text citations that we had talked about back in, what unit was that? In-text citations, that would be organization, I believe. And so you will still need to include that, but if you're using a direct quote, you can never change the words of that. Partial quotes, sometimes it might work better to use a portion of a quote to convey the information than to use an entire quote. To do this, put only the quoted words inside the quotation marks. Use partial quotes when you need to use a speaker's exact words, but the entire direct quote might be too long or too confusing for the reader. Examples of partial quotes: in his novel Styles at LCC, author Harry Sculp states that spiked hair is a part of our cultural heritage, not merely a symbol of rebellion, adding that he thinks nose piercings should be mandatory. Ignoring the weirdness of that sentence, okay? The part that's in quotation marks is a direct quote, that pink part. Everything else is just summarized, and you can do that. That actually might be helpful. Let's go back for a second. That actually might be helpful when it comes to Anne Frank, because you could take a direct quote from her diary and just use like a phrase. I mean, one of the most common statements that she said is that she really believes that people are really good at heart. So you could take that and attach it to a paraphrase statement, and that would work perfectly, especially for a conclusion, if you ended it with an Anne Frank quote. Punctuating quotes, you need to make sure that the author's exact words go inside the quotation marks. The unpunctuation goes inside the last quotation marks. And when the attribution comes after a direct quote, use a comma to separate the quote from the attribution. If a question mark relates to the sentence and not the quote, make it at the end of the sentence outside of the quotation mark. So at the bottom, when it says, what kind of a moron says, I'm super duper cool, the I'm super duper cool is a quote, and that's not asking a question itself, it's the sentence. Punctuating quotations. Use single quotation marks to indicate a quote inside a quote. And so I told her, fix your own tire, Grandma. As you can see, before the A goes 2 quotation marks. This is a direct quote from somebody, but then they're also quoting again. So if you're quoting inside a quote, you just use 1 quotation mark, and then at the end you would do 3. Leave off the closing quotation mark at the end of the paragraph if the quote continues in the next paragraph. Punctuating quotations. Use quotation marks to indicate the title of a smaller work, such as an article, essay, short story, song, poem, or speech. Use italics or underline for larger works, such as a book, magazine, album, play, film, or long poem. So short story, here's the best way to remember this, and I know it's going to come up in the mini lesson. It might be on the next slide, I don't remember. But if it is a small work, it's quotation marks. If it is a large work, it's italics or underlining. Italics and underlining are the exact same thing. So when you underline a book title, if you didn't want to underline, you could italicize it, and it's the exact same thing. What you cannot do is do both. Okay, you cannot italicize and underline. That's a no-no. So just remember, italics and underline are the exact same thing. I kind of already said this. Larger works, you underline or italicize. Smaller works, use quotation marks. Now, at the very end of your mini lesson, I kind of have a little bit of a quiz for you where I give you titles of things, and you have to decide, is it underlining and italicize, or is it quotation marks? I would like you to do this on your own. Okay, substitute, go ahead and give them some time. I don't think it should probably take you more than 3 to 4 minutes, but give them as much time as they need to finish it. And then I believe, that I have the answer key somewhere on my desk in front of my computer. I have one of the mini lessons, the backside filled out, so you would know that. If not, I can check it with the kids next week. But if that answer key is there, please go over it whole group one by one so they can check it. Once you have that done and you've gone over it, I would like you all to get out your Anne Frank projects and go back in. And if you talk about the play or the movie, remember you have to use the title directly. I want you to make sure that you have either underlined, italicized, or used quotation marks appropriately. And maybe this is where you need to put the direct name of the movie in there. So you could underline or italicize it, or put the direct name of the play in there and then put quotation marks around it. That way it's not so much the play, the movie, the play, the movie. You could call it with the exact name that it needs to be as a proper noun. You could go back to your reference page and look at that. Okay, thank you very much. Good job today, kiddos, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.